Hey everybody, welcome to Old Roommates. Today on the show, it's a special birthday episode for me.
Woohoo!
I am forcing Christina, or rather I have forced Christina to watch the NeverEnding Story from 1984. So join us for this very special Brian's birthday episode of Old Roommates.
Welcome, everyone, to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. Can we still see a middle-aged lens now that you have a birthday?
What?
Should it be an old person's lens now?
No.
We'll have to revisit that. But happy birthday, Brian.
Finally.
Well, in honor of your birthday, I actually have a little something.
Oh my god, thanks.
Okay, here. Wait, I have to get up.
I appreciate not saying how old I am, because that really means a lot to me.
So here's the thing. I'm going to take a picture of this, too, for the listeners, and we'll put it on our Patreon site, okay?
Thank you, yeah.
So here's a little cupcake.
Thank you.
That I am bringing to you, made by Emily.
It
literally has just one number on it, so the viewers or the listeners can guess what the other number might be.
Yeah.
Could be the first number, could be the second number. We'll just have to do a quick little guess. It'll leave it a little bit of a mystery for you.
What I like most about it is the fact this candle has clearly been lit before.
Well, I wanted to make sure it was going to light.
We're taking a real close-up of this cupcake.
Hold on,
Christina, thank you so much.
I'm going to take a picture of it now.
With me?
Yeah, of course with you. So here we go. It'll be a little behind-the-scenes view of our studio as well. All right. Happy birthday. There you go. Listeners, you're in for a treat. Go to the Patreon site.
It's pride-colored.
And it's that. Well, I meant to do that.
Outline,
sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's exactly.
Are you implying something about my sexuality? All right. The NeverEnding Story. So it's a little different because it's a special birthday episode. And what we do on Old Roommates is when it's our birthday, we have the power to, not force is the wrong word.
Oh, force is a pretty good word.
We force the other to watch a beloved movie from their past that they had not seen before.
Right.
So in the past, I made Christina watch Xanadu. How crazy that we've been doing this for that long. This is the third. So I made Christina watch Xanadu. You're welcome. For the first time ever. Moonstruck.
That's right.
And now The NeverEnding Story. You made me watch The Jerk.
The Jerk and Frankie and Johnny.
No, French Kiss.
Oh, French Kiss. Right.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. Yes, French Kiss.
Thank you for those as well. And now it's NeverEnding Story, which blows my mind. You've never seen this movie.
I know. You know, every once in a while, it's so funny. This movie and Die Hard are the two movies that come up almost weekly in my life since the moment I was born, probably. And it's always, somehow it always seems, those movies seem to come up, and I'm always like, I've never seen it. And people are shocked that I've never seen this one or Die Hard.
Well, we get a lot of requests for this and for Die Hard.
Yes.
And for, I think, probably The Goonies is up there, too.
Sure.
But you've seen The Goonies. No.
I saw some of them. I know. I've seen some of the Goonies. Not like, I think some of these fall in a point where I was like in college.
Yeah, like a little too,
you know what I mean?
little
so
too
just
old.
Just a little bit on the cusp there, yeah.
Like we have requests for Home Alone. I've never seen it.
You've never seen Home Alone?
In its entirety, no.
Or rather, bits and pieces, you know enough about it.
But again, it's that same thing. 1990. I'm not going to watch Home Alone. I was 18 years old.
Right.
So anyway, The NeverEnding Story. I'll quickly talk about my then and what this movie meant to me.
Okay.
So I was 11 or 12 when this movie came out, and it just grabbed me. I think probably because the kid was bullied and he was a bit bookish. And back then, maybe I was a little on the other side of the bullying. Yeah, because most of my bullying was like 4th grade.
Okay.
And
what year was this again? I'm sorry, 84?
So I was 12. But I guess my point is like, I related to like, you know, say an earlier version of myself in Bastian, who didn't seem to have a friend in the world and was being bullied to the point of being thrown in a dumpster. And then going to this magical world that I also really liked. And so I loved this movie, but I have not seen this movie at least 30 years.
Wow.
So
wow.
I was really excited to rewatch it, and here we are.
I love revisits like that. I really do. A movie that like meant so much to you, and then not seeing it for a long time.
I was like, I wanted like, and I don't think I'm alone in this, but like I wanted like Falkor. You know what I mean? Like, you want like these things. I used to love Gmork, the wolf, the nothing, or the agent of the nothing. And I remember thinking he was such a cool creature, and I loved his darkness. And I was like, I really just was into it. I was into it. Yeah. So that was then, and this is now. And so, how do we want to do this, Christina?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
I just talked, so maybe you should.
I'll do some talking. So my whole experience with this is were two things. I knew about the big flying dog thing.
Yeah.
Just because I guess I've seen it around.
Yeah.
And I knew the song.
Yeah.
So those were my two things that I knew about this story. So I was going in on this, and I just had no idea what to expect. And there's so many times where you're revisiting something that's near and dear, and it's sort of a disappointment because of the technology and things like that. Especially in something like this, where it has all of these different animatronics and visuals and the fantastical world.
Yeah.
So you're a little bit nervous about what it's going to look like in the year 2022.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I had no idea what to expect, but I had an open mind. I was very excited about it. And I have to say, I really liked it, actually. I mean, I don't know if that's like spoiler alert, but I was pleasantly, not so much surprised, but I was, I guess, pleasantly surprised at it. I mean, there's certainly some things that we can talk about, but for the most part, I mean, I was all in on this, and I could totally see me loving this movie as a child as well, because it is so relatable with this Bastian character.
Yeah,
terrible name, by the way. I can't.
Well, I think it's Sebastian.
I'm sure it's Sebastian.
Yeah, but
just
Bastian or
Bastian.
Bastian.
He, I thought it was funny just the beginning part where the father is so not very sympathetic to the fact that this boy lost his mother.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa.
Gerald
McCraney.
Yeah, I forgot he was in that.
I'm like, oh my gosh, Delta Burke's husband. What's happening?
I don't know. I think it might be the cat.
Someone trying to get in?
I don't know.
But I thought it was, it was just kind of funny how... It reminded me, actually, the beginning reminded me a lot of Sleepless in Seattle, in a way.
Oh, totally.
Where, I mean, obviously the mom died, but he almost looks a lot like the same character, the lead character.
A little bit, I can see that.
And the father, I mean, I think Tom Hanks' character was a little bit more sympathetic, but at the same time, they're just sort of going about their business and expect the child to go about their life without the mother.
Here's a direct quote from dear old dad.
I think I probably wrote it down too.
And I'm really disappointed you didn't even try out for the swim team. What's this with these ordinary people
all over
it's like,
again.
Does death mean nothing? So then,
does swim team mean everything?
Exactly. And then the dad says, I don't think he could have been clearer on this point. Stop daydreaming and
start facing your problems. I wrote that same thing down.
He's 6. I mean, maybe lighten up a little bit.
Facing problems.
Facing problems.
What do you want him to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to face the problem of a dead mother?
And getting beaten up every day by the bullies at school.
And what does he even know about that? Probably not.
Probably not.
He's not exactly a warm, fuzzy dad to talk about your problems with.
God, yeah.
Right?
God forbid. Sebastian's sitting there, he's twisting his fingers around to see if he can, I guess, twist all of his fingers in one thing.
Right.
He's a kid. What I mean, I could think of a million other worse things for this kid to be doing at a breakfast table.
Yeah.
I mean, the dad was not sympathetic. He was really not in touch.
Oh.
And if Bastian had problems, I think the dad would have been the last person to go to because he had no heart.
No heart at all. It was very Disney in that way, where the mom is...
Mom is dead. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think Sebastian was lucky to have been thrown into the softest dumpster trash of all time.
Oh my God, was it feathers in there?
Feathers? It was straw. It was a cartoon. He pops his head up and he has straw in his hair. And he fell into a scarecrow's...
There's clearly a farm nearby.
A scarecrow manufacturing facility.
Oh my gosh.
It was really funny. And
so...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. It's okay.
No, yeah, so we learned, then from there, Bastian really getting the audience on his side, he steals a book from an old man.
Well, I said, it's so funny, we're probably going to have very similar. The quote was, "This book is not for you."
Yeah.
So, naturally, he steals it.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
And then from there, we enter Fantasia through the power of the book.
And I will just say, I was so glad because so he escapes whatever he's late for school, so he decides not to go to class, and instead he goes into the attic of the school, which is so cool. I was glad to see that he took the key out of the doorknob. I was expecting him to forget that, right? And because he leaves, and I'm like, oh, I left the key, and he came back and got it. I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that.
That too. That's a middle-aged lens for me. When I was a kid, I didn't even cross my mind.
No. We wouldn't even have thought about it. That's definitely a middle-aged
lens. And I liked that the attic of the school was completely filthy, dusty, with broken shit everywhere.
Yes.
It felt real.
It felt like an attic.
Yeah, it felt like a real public school.
They don't really talk about how he gained access to it, but that's okay. I mean, like as far as like how he started doing that, but it's okay. I didn't need to know the backstory too much. A lot of what I have here
let's hear it,
is quotes from some of the characters. I felt like this movie was so funny.
Oh, good.
The characters and what they had to say was just so adorable. Yeah. So I think, and I didn't write down, I didn't know any of the names of these characters, and I kind of forget, because this was a while ago. So I will say, we talked about this on one of our last episodes, about how we like to let the movies kind of settle a little bit. So I took that to heart, and I watched this movie not a long time ago, but over a week ago. Yeah. And so a lot of this is not going to be so fresh in my mind.
Oh no, I know, it's fine. Yeah.
I think it might have been the rock guy.
Oh yeah,
it might have been
limestone
him talking. It could be somebody else, but he says nothing. It's a hole. A hole would be something.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm like going to jump around.
No, that's okay. And it's so funny. Obviously, the big change for me on rewatch as a grown up, as a middle-aged person, was that sequence with the rock guy and those people. It seemed much bleaker this time around.
Interesting.
When I was a kid, I was like, I was so mesmerized. I thought it was so much of it was cool, like the snail and all that.
The racing snail,
and just being like a bit fascinated by the characters. But now that I know them already and watching it as an older person, it felt kind of dire to me. So and that makes sense for you to laugh at the dialogue or to find it charming because, like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, wow, look. As knowing what I know now, it's like, oh, it's a bleak start for this book.
Yes, it definitely is. And what was interesting for me, too, is I think just with typically in a movie like this, you meet a character, and that character is with you through the whole story. Yeah. It's like the Wizard of Oz, right? You meet the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and all that, and they travel with you on the journey. What I thought was really interesting about this movie was he would meet people or things or characters or whatever you want to call them, and they would just be in that scene, and they wouldn't necessarily travel with him through. And the next scene, he would meet somebody new. Yeah. And the next scene, he would meet somebody new. And you do eventually see them again. Yes. But I thought that was really an interesting way to do it. Yeah. Because you don't really form a connection with the people that he's meeting, really. Right. It's a little Alice in Wonderland-ish. Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's funny because I remember the turtle, for example, and I'm jumping a little bit, but the turtle, I remember the turtle being like nicer and kinder. Maybe it was the turtle who said that. No. It was the rock guy? Because he's like, no, a hole will be something. This is nothing. And I think that's right, because the turtle doesn't show up till a bit later. Okay. Because remember the horse. Oh my God. We have to talk about the horse. Yeah. So really quick, before we get to that, I laughed when
the Night Hob said, "Is he a nutcase?" Because he's watching Atreyu approach the podium.
Oh, yes,
and he's like, "What is this kid?" He's like, "Is he a nutcase?" Which I think is a fair question.
Sure.
What I love, though, that whole sequence, first of all, that actor who's the Empress's representative, I forget what his name is. It's not Caspian, it's something. No, it's like, it's the black guy.
Him.
He was amazing. His name is Moses Gunn. He was on Little House on the Prairie for years.
Oh, no kidding.
He's done a million movies. He was in Shaft and a bunch of stuff. I love that scene. That scene is so important to this movie, and as a older person now, it's like, I think it's done so well. But it's really interesting because he lays it all out. The what is his name? I think it's like Caspian or something. And he's standing there and he's basically saying to Atreyu, he's like, well, first he tells the townspeople, who are all so weird looking. I mean, like that one with the four heads and then the giant heads and all that.
Yes.
So he's like, "People, the Empress is sick. She might die. We have called for help." And then Atreyu walks up the stairs and he's like, basically says to some degree, like, "You're a little boy." And he's like,
"Yes,
I'm a warrior." But then he says, "You must go alone and leave all your weapons behind. It will be very dangerous." I would have been like, "Excuse me, can you explain why?"
It was so good. I know it was.
Why? Why do I have to leave? It's very dangerous. And I can't bring a weapon.
I wrote it down too because I was at the same thing. I was thinking the same thing. But he even goes further. He says, "No one can give you any advice."
Oh my God, I missed that.
"You must go alone. It's very dangerous. No, you cannot have any weapons. If you fail, and this is the other part. This is the part that kills me.
Oh my God.
If you fail, the Empress will surely die, and our whole world will be utterly destroyed." And I just wrote, "No pressure." Holy shit!
It was a lot.
Like, really?
It was a lot.
He can't even get advice?
Oh my God, in heaven.
Yeah, that's a lot for one little boy.
Also, horses are people too. So to say go alone, he has Artex.
Right, yes, yes.
Didn't end well for Artex, but he had
Oh my
him.
gosh, I can't even. So I will say, one of the things I noticed right away in this movie was it was very multicultural. And I was really impressed with that. I felt like it was so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Where you just saw a lot of different races and things. So I was really, really pleased about seeing that.
Yeah.
And I loved all the unique characters that you see. What does it remind me of? It reminded me of something. I'll have to think about that. But it reminded me of something when I was watching it, with all of the different, just strange...
You didn't get a Labyrinth vibe?
Well, there's definitely a Labyrinth vibe, but not the unique character. Like, I'm thinking about the scene, oh, I know what it was. It was in Beetlejuice. In, like, the, when they're waiting in the waiting room.
Lobby.
And they have all of these different characters and different things that are going on. That whole, like, town meeting, that's what reminded me of that. The entire movie had a labyrinth. I felt very labyrinth, for sure. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of differences. I think that,
one thing I'll say a positive and negative about that. I wished, to me, honestly, like as being older now, I feel like I did think the townspeople, it just looked like they were wearing heavy costumes, and it was a little distracting, to be honest. I almost would have wished they had these funky hairstyles or something, you know, versus like these clearly heavy costumey things on. But I will add. It's a little off track, but the music I really loved. We loved making fun of music on this show, but I think this, for the time and the place and this fantasy land, I think the music holds up.
I agree.
I loved it.
I agree 100%. And I also felt like the movie as a whole, the scenery and even the characters, not so much the townspeople. But the main characters, the rock guy, the turtle, Falkor. Right?
Yeah, Falkor,
They were all beautiful. I thought they were so well done in the scenery and everything around it. I thought it was really top notch. And you know me, I'm always the first one to criticize. But I really, maybe because it was this fantasy land and I was a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah.
And because I was sort of looking at it for the first time, so I'm sort of looking at it through a child's eyes in a way.
Yeah.
But I will say where they fell short.
Okay.
With all of this beauty and all of this, clearly a lot of work put into these characters.
Yes.
The animatronics and the voice matching up to the animatronics bothered me so much.
Yeah.
Where it was like, who was not paying attention? Like, you couldn't have spent a little more time matching the voice to the mouth.
Yeah.
That bothered me. Because
Are you talking
so
specifically about like Falkor or who?
Falkor for sure. The
turtle. I noticed it with the turtle.
Even like the Rock Man, like any of these big animatronic characters.
Yeah.
It was like the voices were going, but then the mouth was moving too slowly.
Gamork was a little like that too. Yeah.
Most of those characters were like that. So.
Yeah.
It just was disappointing because everything else was just really, really beautiful.
I agree. And it's so funny. Someone said to me, like, yo, you know that movie was all dubbed over from German.
Finish your thought, because Matt just said this to me this morning.
But I don't know if it's true. So it's like, so it was made, so Fantasia was filmed at Bavaria Studios in Munich. And it was truly, the title is Die Unendliche Geschichte, which is the never-ending...
Watch your mouth!
Which is the never-ending story. So, auf Deutsch. But the thing is I read a lot about this. I did not see that it said it was dubbed in English.
So this is what Matt found out, because he said the same thing to me, and I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, I had never heard that, not that I've done a lot of research. And so he actually looked it up this morning while we were talking about it, and apparently a lot of the actors were German, and they could speak English, but maybe not so well.
Yeah.
So some of the things were dubbed over, but not.
But that wouldn't explain the animatronics.
But it's not the animatronics.
Right.
But and I think it might have been mostly the Empress or something. But
I could see that, and I could also see. To me, it was Nighthawk. Clearly, I think there were a couple times where I'm like, I feel like that something was a little off there with his.
So speaking. So it's not. It wasn't everybody. It wasn't completely dubbed.
Yeah.
It was just certain actors that needed some help, I guess, in some scenes.
Yeah. Just quickly going back to the music, like that, the Empress's Castle. I love that music. I love when Atreyu and Artax are galloping towards a rainbow. I guess it happens early on. That was beautiful.
It would have to have happened early on.
Oh, I guess so. Oh my god.
So.
Oh god. Well, no, because Artax shows up at the end. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But so horses are people too, and then oh my god. So this is another negative. Sebastian talking to himself. Mm-hmm. How did you feel watching this for the first time, Christina? Because I
didn't like it.
Oh, at one point he says,
I didn't like it.
He's like, he takes a bite of an apple, and he goes to take a second bite, and he goes, no, not too much. We still have a long way to go. Yeah, and I busted out laughing.
Yeah, I did not care for those talking to himself stuff, because I feel like it would have been and that was horrible, that whole thing. But also there were times where he's talking to himself when he's like, no, it couldn't be me. And I just felt that was a little too like spoon-fed. Yeah, like he didn't have to say it. Like maybe have a questionable look, whatever. But and I have to say, like, I felt like the acting for the most part was pretty good.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I actually was pretty pleased with the actors, especially since there were children involved. And Sebastian was okay. He was, He
had a tough task.
He
really did. It's just him. The director did a little bit of research and reading about the making of this, and I was told, one moment, please. This is getting something hot off the press. Okay. Not critical. So what happens is the director, I guess for the we'll say 20th anniversary.
Sure.
The director was very open about saying that Bastian, the actor who played Bastian, was a delight, and that the actor who played Atreyu was really difficult to work with.
I would have bet money on that. Atreyu looked like a little brat actor.
Oh!
He really did. You just looked at me like, yeah, he's probably...
Really?
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of what I felt like.
So then they actually asked Atreyu, the actor. I'm sorry, I didn't write down any of these names. I want to say it's Noah something, Hathaway maybe. So they asked Noah, do you know that the director said this about you? And he's like, oh, I'm not surprised. He's like, but when you have me fall in mud 40 times in a row, I'm probably going to be a bit cranky about that.
Well, and I would have guessed, and again, I didn't do any research either, but I would have guessed, excuse me, that he...
And in paraphrasing, by the way.
Of course,
yeah.
I would have guessed that he was more classically trained as an actor than Sebastian was.
Do you think he gave a good performance?
I think they both gave a great performance. Yes, I thought he was a great little actor. I really did. And I could probably have seen me, like, having a little crush on him, too. You know what I mean? If I was a child watching it, I'd be like, ooh, he's cute. Because of the long hair and stuff. Yeah. But you could see that he was probably a little bit more polished. So maybe that's where I got my idea that he may have not have been the nicest kid to work for or with.
Yeah. Yes. So I want to jump into the moment that gave me PTSD of
Yes,
Arctic.
please.
So,
I will never get over this moment.
But I'll tell you what I missed all the times I watched this as a kid. The Fantasia sounds like a real blast. So the names of some of the towns or the lands are the Swamps of Sadness.
Yes.
And the Desert of Shattered Hopes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, really? Fantasia has these like dreadful town names. So then we have Artax, is a horse, and he gets sad. And if you get sad, you get sunk into the Swamps of Sadness.
It reminded me a lot of the bog, the bog of eternal stench in Labyrinth. Love it. But yeah, the Swamp of Sadness. If you let the sadness overtake you, you will sink in the swamp. So for me, this is when I started, and we can talk about the horse in a second, but this is when this all started pulling together a lot of metaphors for me for depression. And I don't know if you, as a middle-aged person, took any of that in. And it starts at this point and continues on throughout, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are all very... almost like, like, honestly, if I had a child that had depression, I'd be like, watch NeverEnding Story. Because it's the same type of thing, the swamp of sadness, right? If you let it overtake you, you will sink in the swamp. That is depression.
And the flip side, with Atreyu, realizing you can't just get someone out of depression by yelling at them.
They have to do it themselves.
So they couldn't do it.
My next note on this was... this is all caps. Artax! No! Holy shit! They killed a horse? I could not believe that this horse died.
This horse, by the way, this horse went through it behind the scenes. He was on a hydraulic. Yeah. And but the horse, like they do it a million times to the horse calm down to get him to be calm to get that low to the water. Obviously, the horse was fine, but devastating. And that is fucking.
I can't imagine rough. As a child watching this. I would never get over that. Yeah. I would never get over it. I'm barely going to get over it now. Just thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so sad. And his acting in that, the little boy acting,
was so good.
Oh, I was like really emotional.
Yeah. It's devastating. It was devastating as a kid. It was always that scene too where, like, I really feel like on VHS would I probably fast forwarded that part because it's just a lot, and it's like, and it is really good acting. It is really sad, and the music and the horse, and it's like
everything.
There's no fake horse in that scene. That is a real horse.
That is not a stuffed animal.
Yeah. But it's really rough. But I'll tell you, watching it now, the big thing that jumped out at me is Atreyu is as sad as can effing be, but he doesn't sink.
Well, this is why I was a little confused about that too. I'm like, and my whole thought was, don't get sad, Atreyu. What are you doing? Like, you're gonna sink too, unless because especially afterwards when he's like so sad. I'm like, move.
Through. Yeah,
you got to get out of this swamp.
Yeah,
I kind of chalked it up to he was mostly mad and panicky when he was trying to get him out, or scared.
Yeah.
Like a little different emotion than sad.
Yeah, I guess he was more angry.
But after, obviously, he was sad. But, oh, my God. They would never put something like that in a movie now.
Yeah, I mean, something it was so in your face.
Although, actually, I might take that back.
Okay.
For anyone who's watched Frozen 2.
Oh.
They killed Olaf.
Oh, spoiler. I never saw Frozen 2, Christina.
Oops.
Well, it's also a cartoon.
Kind of.
Olaf's the snowman.
Olaf is the comic relief snowman. And it's actually kind of... I would actually recommend watching it.
Oh.
It was actually pretty good. And this also it speaks to like something a little deeper too. But at one point, Anna is usually pretty codependent on friends and family to help her through things.
Okay.
Although she's very, she's great at solving problems. She usually has her team. And somehow she ended up... She wasn't with Elsa. She's trying to find Elsa. And she was with Olaf, and she wasn't with Kristoff, and she was all alone with Olaf, and then he ends up dying.
Like melting, I'm guessing.
Melting or blowing away or something. I forget what it was. Okay. So she was all alone, and that was like the whole point of it. All right, spoiler alert, he does come back.
Well, then he doesn't die, does he?
But just like the horse.
Okay, I see, yeah.
So I had to just think about that. But that was pretty powerful to have like a character like that to die. Anyway.
Yeah.
I said they wouldn't do it again, but I guess they did in Frozen 2.
So, the next time I did laugh shortly after the death of Artax because... So it really goes from like Artax, and my note is Shell Mountain. Like it's a very quick transition. So Atreyu sees Shell Mountain where he has to go, and then he meets Morla the turtle.
Oh God, I love this guy.
Wow, does Morla have some quotes?
I have a few
like
that I
four
wrote down.
Quotes from
Shall
Morla.
we go back and forth?
So I have. This is a fun fact. So at one point, Morla says, "We don't even care whether or not we care." Which, Christina, was the original tagline for this podcast. And then he says, "I'm allergic to youth." I'm like, that's the other tagline.
Absolutely. He needs to be our mascot.
We're Morla. Yeah. We're basically Morla.
The one I love that. I love both of those. It's a riot. I wrote down the care one. But I also wrote down, we haven't spoken to anyone else for thousands of years, so we started talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
So he just talks to himself because he has no one else to talk to. Another disorder.
Mental health. Yeah, it's interesting. I will say, super smart with the script on this, because Morla says to Atreyu, flat out, the words, give up.
Yes.
Give up. And remember, shortly thereafter, Falkor says, "Never give up."
Interesting.
And it's really within minutes. But I've seen this movie probably 10 times as a younger person, but I noticed it right away. I was like, "Holy crap!" Although it does, to your point, challenge you can't take advice from anyone.
That's true.
So it's a little weird, but I thought it was really smart because it's all about like the energy you give off, and there's that expression like, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Right.
It's so much of it is about believing in yourself, and I think this movie does a really nice job of that. Where Morla just flat out says, "Give up. You don't have a chance in the world," and Falkor is like this beam of light.
It's so great. I wish I had done some like sort of research on like the analysis of the characters, and maybe we're just reading too much into it. But
I don't know.
I really love all of this.
It is based on a very big book. In fact, like this movie is only tackles the first half of the book.
Oh my gosh!
I think it's okay to get deep. I mean, we're doing shallow dives, but it's like I think it's okay to dig in a little deeper on this, because I feel like the writers is written by the book was written by someone named Michael Enda, if I'm pronouncing it in a German way. Yeah. But he didn't like the movie because he thought the movie was way too plastic and smooth. Mm-hmm. And his book, he feels, was a bit grittier and deeper. And, yeah. But listen, you have 94 minutes. You
right. I mean, what else can you do? So it was here that I wrote that the animatronics needed some work. Mm-hmm. So,
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a, okay, what was it? Mortha? Is that?
Morla.
Morla. I have a note that I don't really understand. Was he going to say there was a friend, like there was a friend in the cave or something like that? I think he said something about a friend being in the cave. I was hoping that Artax was in the cave. So, I think he was pointing him in that direction, and I was kind of hoping. And he said something about a friend, and I'm like, oh, did he survive?
But it's really Gmork.
It was...
in the cave.
Yes.
Right?
It was not Artax.
But yeah, what a character though, Morla. Oh my god, it's so like grave and like and deep and dark. Yeah. And I thought it was actually done decently with like him on the tree talking to the turtle and the sneezing and the grossness.
Yes.
I liked it. I thought it was
I did too.
I thought it held up a bit. But I understand the mouth movement.
It's just the mouth movement. Yeah. That's really all that was my only criticism is the matching, and that's why I was annoyed by it. Because it was just that one thing. My
next note, I'm very excited about Christina because I'm dying to know, because I know you love The Princess Bride.
Oh my gosh!
And I am dying
I know what you're going to say.
Your feelings about Englewook and Urgle. Oh, let's see.
See what it says? Well, it doesn't really have my feelings on it. Can you read it?
Let me see.
It says...
husband and wife, Princess Bride. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, keeping in mind, 84, Princess Bride's 87.
Yeah. So...
Talk to me.
Immediately, I'm like, this is the husband and wife in The Princess Bride. But they were a little, I don't know, maybe more respectful for each other? I don't know. Was that the word I'm looking for?
Yep.
A little more respectful? Not quite as Billy Crystal.
And Carol Kane, who won my Roomie Award for worst performance. Worst performance, yeah.
So, yes, I immediately said that's definitely like a Princess Bride thing. And I liked them. I thought they were great.
Yeah.
I really liked them.
And they were really, like, I think, trying to help and were excited, but the prospect of hope.
Yes.
Like, it was different. They were still cranky as hell. Mm-hmm. But they were, you could tell they loved each other, and they wanted to help Atreyu.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really all. He did call her, wench.
Yes.
In fact, I had to look up their names, and, like, I was like, do they even have names? But, yeah, Englewook and Urgle. So
they go to the statue guards. I have one comment on the statue.
My God, I know what you're gonna. I mean, yeah, good.
These huge statue guards are kind of like whatever gargoyle type of things with huge bare breasts
with nipples and everything.
Nipples,
yeah,
the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, why are they putting this in this child's tale? It was unnecessary.
Christina, in all honesty, I forgot. I remembered them. I forgot they had nipples, and I'm like, oh god, do the lasers come out of their nipples or their eyes? Because the nipples are real.
Well, it would have made sense if it came out of their nipples.
Oh my god! But those were, and in fact, that writer that Michael Enda was furious about those because he's like, really? What are those things? Like they have nipples? Like he thought it was really
I don't understand
bad taste.
Why.
Yeah,
it really was a weird choice.
It was weird. I think maybe it was to maybe throw off like if little kids are watching it that it's like I don't know that it's like. Maybe it's darker, or maybe it's like darker than they imagine. Maybe they felt they were watching a more adult type of story, and that there's more danger involved. Because if you're a little kid, like I remember watching it and being like, "Oh, this is a bit strange," but it sort of takes you out a little bit of a comfort zone. If you're if you're a kid watching something that may not be completely appropriate, there's an added level of danger as to what could happen. Because you might feel like, should I be watching this? And then, oh god, is this more dangerous than I'm thinking? You know.
Makes sense.
And to this day, I've been petrified of breasts ever since.
I don't blame you. Yeah. Well, now here we go. Now we know what happened, right?
I do have a note. It's because I skipped over Gmork, but we'll go back to that. I just wrote, well, at least he doesn't have to go through the boob lasers again. The boob laser gates. Yeah, I said because it's been blown to bits.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I have a quote. I don't know who wrote
yeah.
it, who said it, but I wrote it down. It says, and this goes along with the whole depression thing too. When confronted with themselves, most men run away screaming.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was interesting. I wrote so deep.
I'm not going to get political, but I wrote something that Gmork said.
Okay. Is that Gmork from Orc?
Can I be honest? So when I was a kid, I thought Gmork was the nothing. And then, and I was like, oh, is this the servant of the nothing? I've always loved that.
Sense, yeah.
I've always loved that wolf. I always thought he was like a really cool character. So Gmork says...
Well, maybe that was Gmork who said that.
I think perhaps. But Gmork also says, people who have no hope are easy to control.
I have that written down too. This movie has so many great quotes. In fact, at the beginning it says, because I wrote down the whole thing because I thought it was so cool. It says, people have begun to lose their hopes and forget their dreams. So the nothing grows stronger. Mm-hmm. It's a despair destroying this world. And I mean, this is all relevant today.
Yes, it
all relevant today. People who lose their hopes are easy to control.
Yeah. It's I was like, holy shit. And it's funny, and it's almost like, I mean, I'll equate it to like Grease when, like, you know, you're singing Grease songs as a kid, and you're like, oh, wait, I'm talking about shits and tit and creaming my car.
Grease lightning.
And creaming all over the place. But then then you're watching Gmork talk about some really heavy themes, and you're like, yeah, totally, yeah. And it's like, but as an adult, like, holy crap, this is like really like dark stuff, but I appreciate it even more now as an adult. It's trying to say something.
I could not believe how true it ran.
Yeah.
Watching this movie today. I'm like, especially now with everybody just being very emotional about certain things.
Yeah, to be like in a pandemic, for example, and all that stuff. And it really, it rings true.
Yeah.
So then we get to the devastation, which Fantasia is truly blown to bits. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, my right hand to God, as a child and as an adult, when the ivory tower turned in the distance, that it was still intact, I felt something like truly in my heart. I was like, oh my God. And even as an adult, I was like, oh my God. And I felt hope.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Did you expect to see the ivory tower in the distance? Like, what was your...
I didn't have that effect.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, honestly, I wasn't really surprised. To be honest, I was like, oh, there it is. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really that surprised. But we haven't really talked about Falkor much.
Oh, we haven't, have we? I kind of stopped taking notes when Falkor showed up. I loved him so much.
He's really good.
He's a great character.
He's a great character. Super cute, super fun.
Yeah.
And you have actually a personal story about that. Well,
so,
your husband has a
Carl.
story.
So Carl...
But wait, we're not...
Oh!
Well, I mean, you can tease it, but I think we should actually have more on the Patreon site, right?
True. Oh, no, yeah.
So patreon.com/oldroommates.
Let me put it this way. Carl grew up in Bavaria, where this movie was filmed.
Yes.
After the end of the movie, certain artifacts were put into the studio as
cool.
You know, it's almost like, for America, imagine like Universal Studios and the E.T. bike.
Oh, yeah,
There's a similar situation. I'm going to ask Carl about it on Patreon. So
that's amazing.
Get ready
I cannot wait to hear all about it.
Yeah. I did write the transition after Gmork is killed is really abrupt.
Yes.
It happens like really fast. And I kept thinking, did they do it because maybe they're afraid it looked too fake? Maybe. I don't know. It just seemed real fast.
It almost felt like there was like a deleted scene or something.
I agree.
So maybe there is a deleted scene somewhere.
Yeah. But I felt hope when the ivory tower turned and the music went up. And I just, again, I think that music is done so well. I had it written down. I thought I did of who did the music. I can look it up later. But I thought it was done really, really nice. Again, Sebastian, God bless. He looks up from the book and he says, "The Empress." I busted out laughing.
I know.
Oh my God! I don't know. It's
like
so dramatic.
It's so dramatic. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I really wish that she hadn't called his name. I wished that the characters in the book weren't so connected to Bastian. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really wish it was more separate and Bastian sort of realized it on his own. Like, maybe I can help.
I
Instead
see
of
that.
her asking for help.
Yep. I will say, I think that is one of the byproducts of watching this as an adult for the first time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it almost makes it more possible. Do you know what I mean? Like, meaning the fact that she's identifying him means that there's a real connection and he can help them. Mm-hmm. In your version, it's much more ambiguous, where it's like he's taking a chance that they can even understand. Yeah.
Maybe, yes,
he has to believe in himself.
He has to believe in himself.
Not because they're asking him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're putting faith in him without naming that that's what they're putting the faith in. Yeah. So it would be,
Christina, I agree.
Thank you. Finally.
Again, Christina and Brian here for all of your script doctoring. Send us your scripts. We'll fix them
right up.
Awesome.
We would rip those damn things apart.
We'll fix them right up for you.
Hope you have a strong stomach.
Christina, I have to know, were your subtitles on?
No, they were not.
Do you know what the mother's name is?
So I do now because I looked it up after the fact. But I don't think he actually says the name. So I saw an interview where he said something different. But what does it say on the subtitles?
Moonchild.
Okay, that's what it says in the book and all that. But the actor said he didn't actually say the name.
Oh.
And I couldn't understand what the hell he was saying either.
But the subtitles come up as Moonchild.
That's interesting.
But I'm telling you, again, we talked about this a lot on this podcast, where when you, you can't just Google shit back in 1984. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what he was saying every time I watched it. And I was like, wait, what was the mother's name?
I had no idea what it was. And I thought they did it on purpose.
Oh.
I really did. I'm like, is it Marsha? Like, I thought they did it on purpose because the music's wicked loud and he opens the window and there's like a storm or something, right? So it was like a lot of chaos going on.
Also, if anyone out there has ever met someone named Moonchild, shoot us an email at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. That's quite the name.
Even back then, it was quite
the name. Sure.
Yeah. You're more likely to find somebody today.
So I will say, through a middle-aged lens, absolutely chilling when the Empress looks right into the camera. I don't know how I feel about it as an adult. Ooh. It kind of freaked me out.
Is that when she called him by name? Is that the same scene?
Please help us. And she has tears in her eyes. And it's very jolting.
Yeah, I could see that. It didn't have as much of an effect on me, but it was, It's always good when they break that wall, the fourth wall.
And now, this is a big bone of contention between me and Bastian. Ready? And maybe you have the same note.
I think I do have the same note.
This little shit can make as many, this is the words, as many wishes as he wants. Not one of them is to bring his mother back from the dead. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me?
That's exactly right. It says, let me see. I'm sure writing Falkor is amazing.
Falkor. Sorry. Falkor.
Whatever.
With an F.
I wrote Falkor.
Yeah. Well, really quick, what's funny about that? In German, V's are pronounced like F's, and F's are pronounced like V's.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. So I'm speaking German right now.
Yeah.
Nice. So, so I'm sure Falkor is amazing, but ... How about I wish my mom wasn't dead?
Yeah.
What? Come on.
And I understand. You don't want kids to think they can bring their parents back from dead. You don't want that.
This is a freaking fantasy.
But I agree. If you're opening that, Bastian misses his mom so much.
This is the reason why he's all depressed.
I know. It seems like a weird disconnect. What if it was like, I just want to know my mom's okay. And
I want to see my mom one more time.
One last time. I want, if my mom is okay, I want to see a shooting star while I'm riding Falkor.
How about this, which I just realized that I just
saw it.
How about he's riding Falkor?
Yeah.
And you see the image of his mom riding with him, behind him. Oh my God,
I got goosebumps.
Almost like a ghost or an angel of some sort. Maybe then that's 2 wishes in one.
That is heartbreaking.
It is.
That's really sweet.
That would have been good.
That's really sweet. Christina,
Again,
you nailed it. You nailed it.
Send your scripts.
So, and then I just wrote, his dad must be worried sick.
Well, I was thinking, what's going to happen now? He's going to really
get in real trouble.
So that was one part that was a little bit missing for me.
Sure.
Was the kind of the wrap up of his real life at the end.
I agree.
Yeah, I wish I had seen a little bit more about maybe a conversation with his father. Maybe his father could ease up a little bit, or some kind of wrap up would have been nice.
Because if anything, this is only going to encourage him to daydream more.
Right. Oh my
He lived
gosh.
in Fantasyland for
100%.
the whole night.
Yep.
Yeah, his life is different
The whole night, overnight,
He's
everything
going to go
else.
to him like, Dad, you know what? You're actually wrong because fantasy is real. Like,
That's
it's
right.
going to be weird. It's a
Just
weird conversation.
Some sort of weird conversation.
Oh, Lord.
Oh
Believe
my
it or
gosh.
not, believe it or not, that's kind of all my notes. I will say this movie, so this movie at the time was the most expensive film ever made outside of the U.S.
Wow.
It was the most expensive movie ever made, I believe, in Europe and in Russia at the time. So in American dollars, it was made for $25 million, because remember, it was made in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it. It was made $25 million, and it made $100 million at the box office.
Wow.
Yeah, based on the book, The NeverEnding Story. He wasn't happy with the film. Released in West Germany. This is how long ago that was. This was released in West Germany, April 1984. Released in the States, July 1984. The song by Lamal. Okay. Do you know, are you familiar with Lamal?
Not really.
I believe it's the lead singer from Kajagoogoo.
Oh, sure. I remember that.
So, yeah, but let's just play a little bit of... So, believe it or not, number 6 on adult contemporary charts, number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me. I feel like
it's a good song.
It's catchy. That song will be in my head for the rest of the day, probably for a week.
Yeah.
And Adam, do you watch Stranger Things?
So, it's so funny. So, I swear to God, I was Googling a lot of NeverEnding Story, and one of the things that comes up is NeverEnding Story Stranger Things. And it's like, the song in Stranger Things. Tell me.
So you have not watched it?
Nope, I have not.
So this is in the second season, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, definitely the second season. And it's a funny scene where there's a character that needs the code for something to stop these huge aliens from attacking a bunch of different people. Okay, I'm probably going to get half of this stuff wrong, but it's like there's different areas where everybody is being attacked by these humongous alien crazy creatures. Mm-hmm. And this kid is like, oh, I have my girlfriend can help. So these are all kids that are like 12 years old or something, right? So he has a CB radio because it's all set in like the 80s. And he's talking to the girl and he's like, I need your help. I need the code for blah, 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 blah. Because they're all like nerds.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait a minute. I haven't heard from you for like weeks, and now you're asking me for this? This is a dire situation. I really need your help. I need you to do your thing. And he's like, I can't do it right now. So he's on a CB radio, and all of his friends are all hearing this stuff, too, in the different areas that they are where they're fighting off these aliens. Yeah. Fine, goodbye. And he's like, fine, I'll do it. And then he starts singing NeverEnding Story, and they have a duet over the CB radio. It's actually really, really funny. And everyone's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you get the code? But he realizes he can't. She won't do anything until they do this. And it's actually a really funny scene.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cute.
It is cute. It is cute. So, Brian,
any other notes? I know, I feel like I cut you off a lot.
Nope, I do not have any more notes. I think that we covered everything that
I'm going to be
I've
honest. So I think the question is more or less about the same. I think it's the same, if not a little bit more.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it does. I really do think it does hold up. I love the music. I think it's and a lot of the dialogue, like we said, the lines are really about some real heavy themes.
The lines are great. I love the themes. I love all of that. I feel like so much of it holds up. And a lot of the general themes hold up. Yeah. I feel like the scenery is still beautiful. Yeah. And when I say still, obviously I didn't say it before. But you mean
for 1984
for someone,
to 20...
For 1984, as someone watching it for the first time, I didn't feel like, oh, this is like cheesy or anything. I felt like the music was great, and the scenery is great, and the puppets are great. Is it Jim Henson?
No.
It isn't, because it had very much a labyrinth feel to it, like you were saying before.
I didn't look that stuff up,
but I just felt like it was a great movie to watch even now. It didn't feel like cheesy or anything.
So I have a match game.
Oh, good. I actually have a match game also.
Cool. And Christina, so I have a question for you, though.
Yes.
So, Moonstruck, Xanadu, NeverEnding Story. Do you have a little... Because the movies I've made you watch on my birthday, where does NeverEnding Story fall?
God, I don't know. It might
because they're pretty different.
They are very different. It might be my favorite.
Nice.
I mean, I liked Moonstruck too. I mean, Moonstruck I liked, but I feel it was a little tough for me because you loved it so much.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be different, I guess. And I wasn't a big fan of the shared Nicolas Cage relationship. I liked everybody surrounding them.
Totally.
So probably NeverEnding Story and then Moonstruck.
And then Xanadu.
All
right, so now my match game. Are you ready?
I am ready.
So Christina, this is a little personal, but Falkor isn't neutered.
Ooh.
I know. And it can get pretty bad because he doesn't hump your leg. He humps your blank.
Oh, God. Okay. Ding.
All right. That was pretty quick.
Yeah.
I feel good about this.
We've been doing really well lately.
It's pretty well on these. Christina, so Falkor isn't neutered. It can get pretty bad because he doesn't hump your leg. He humps your blank.
Your whole body.
Oh, damn it all to hell. I almost said house. I have house.
Oh.
Because he's so big.
I almost said house also, but I was like, is he going to have a house?
Well, because it gets pretty
And you know
bad.
what? I'm not even thinking about houses because I'm still in that fantasy land.
world. Yeah. Oh, damn. I'm sorry.
No, pretty close. Pretty
All
close.
right.
I did think about it for a second. All right, I have mine.
Let's hear it.
All right, so Bastian
Yes.
was really immature. And
How immature was he?
And he had a sick sense of humor.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the Empress, when he was told to name her, he thought it would be funny to yell out blank. Very immature.
I already know my answer.
Very immature. I gotta write mine. I have it, but I have to write it down.
Ding.
Okay.
I can't believe how quickly I thought of this. I hope
well,
you
it just. I think it speaks to your maturity level.
And I think it's. Well, here we go. I'm not even
So he was very immature and had a sick sense of humor. So when the Empress wanted him to name her, he thought it would be funny to yell out,
Joe Mama. No?
No. I wrote poopy head.
What the hell? How would I ever guess that?
I don't know.
Joe Mama is like deep because it's like his mom had a name.
Oh,
you know?
That's true.
And it's like Joe, and Joe Mama is a name. It's an actual name.
That's true. That's
Joe
true.
Mama.
I would have thought he was just being silly and be like, I'm going to call you poopy head.
Like, can you imagine? Bastian, name me. Joe. Joe what? Joe Mama. And then she dies.
No, she was named. She would have
Yeah, she would have got a name, yeah.
But how about Empress Poopy Head, though?
Empress Poopy Head. I'd go with that.
All right.
Oh, my God. Well, happy birthday to me.
Oh, my gosh.
Christina,
Happy birthday,
Thank
Brian.
you for the cupcake.
And maybe we can have our patrons guess how old you are.
Oh, that's... Oh, no.
Well, we
That's
know
gonna
there's
end
one
badly.
number in it. You have to look at the cupcake to see what number it is. And it's almost like a Wordle. It's like a birthday number Wordle.
Maybe.
Which one? How old is Brian?
Yeah. By the way, 31-day streak on Wordle. Right
No
now.
kidding. Oh, my
Currently
God.
for
Good
me,
job.
yeah.
I'm doing something called Nerdle.
Oh.
It's a math one. I don't know if you like math.
No, I don't.
Oh, it's good. It's hard. You have to figure out what the formula is, but it can be addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So you have to do. It's almost like 5 plus 2 divided by 1
God.
equals.
Never.
And it has to work out. It's really good. It's very challenging. But
I thought you were going to say, because I knew you were doing the Wordle app. I'm just doing the Wordle New York Times the daily.
Did you notice it changed to New York Times today?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, so NeverEnding Story.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Thank you.
And that's it for us in this episode of Old Roommates. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And please give us a rating or review while you're there.
And if you're interested in more Old Roommates, including special episodes, bonus content, movie recommendations, and more, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com. That's patreon.com/oldroommates. Comments and ideas can be emailed to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Old Roommates.
Thanks again for listening. This is Christina.
And this is Brian. Until next time.